Hello, I'm Kit Cabell, one of the co-founders of Veracity In Defiance, and I'm here with another Berine Sanders delegate. Can you please introduce yourself to the camera and the crew?
Hi, my name's Mtahias Detamore. I am a 10th District Delegate in Dayton, Ohio.
All right, so what drew you into the Bernie Sanders campaign, and how did you get a chance and the opportunity to become a Bernie Sanders delegate?
Well, I have an academic background in political theory, radical socialist, Marxist theories, but I'd never been politically engaged until Bernie came along. He was the first establishment, or I mean, not really establishment, kind of but he had a message that fit. It was FDR politics. It was getting back to something that's more humane. I mean, I think I'm a little bit further left of Bernie, but he was the first real progressive politician that we've had since FDR. I think that's really, really important. People forget that FDR pulled the Democratic Party out of obscurity. They hadn't won a presidential election in 60 years with the exception of Grover Cleveland, who was a corporatist like we have today. So the corporatist Democratic Party failed then, it's failing now, and it's time for radical change. And I think that's what Bernie Sanders offers, and that's why so many people were drawn to him.
And how did you get the chance to become a Bernie Sanders delegate?
So I moved home I did my PhD in Kentucky, and then I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and I lived there. And I moved home, and I was kind of in the middle of nothing going on, and I had been following Bernie for a while, and I got really excited when he finally, announced his candidacy, and I was thinking about it more and more and more, and I started wanting to get involved, and I found, gotten on the email list and found where the local things started happening, and started back with our local organization that we were starting in August in Dayton, and from there we did a lot of canvassing. The original organizer, the guy that kind of got it started, he was an unemployed engineer. Well, he got a job around Christmas time in Boston, and so he had to leave us. Well, that left a few of us core people left to sort of become the organizers for that movement. As a result, growing up through that leadership in the organization that we were trying to build on the grassroots level, without the campaign, I found out about how our caucuses run and how our delegates are selected, and I applied and was filtered through the delegation process, and we gave our case to the caucus that showed up in January, and I was elected. Along with some of my other fellow delegates, and two of us were selected to come here. And so, yeah.
Okay, so coming here to Philadelphia, what did you notice about the environment, at least at the convention center? How did you feel about the Democrats, organizing the event? Do you feel that Bernie Sanders delegates were treated fairly? The volunteers, were they treated fairly? What's your opinion? Because we tried to get inside. Obviously, we couldn't, but you were inside the convention center. What was going on there? What was the environment like?
Well, let's be quite clear. I'm one of the delegates that walked out. I was one. I didn't necessarily initially intend to do so. I was not a part of that. The sort of organizing that happened with that, because there was some. But we all decided that once the final roll call was done and Bernie conceded through his final speech in Vermont, that our job was done, and we got up and left. And every Bernie Sanders delegate did that. And there are videos online. I can't remember the name of the one specifically, where he pans the room and shows how empty the place is as they're finalizing the roll call and the floor vote. We've been mistreated, and there's no doubt about it. There's sneers, there's rejection, we're talked down to. There's this expectation that we're just going to follow along. They've tried to co-opt Bernie's message and brand it so that they can sell it as if the Democratic Party has now somehow become this progressive thing because they got Bernie to say he would back the party. I understand why Bernie has backed the party, and I support Bernie. I don't feel betrayed by Bernie. This is what he said he was going to do, but I'm beginning to feel more and more that a third party option has to kind of coincide with the infiltration of the Democratic Party. I still think that the infiltration of the Democratic Party and taking it over by progressives is still an important project, and we should move forward. But I think there's enough people that are just so disillusioned by the party that they're no longer willing. The way we were treated this week is for further example. Tim Kaine was selected, and that was a couple of weeks ago. But then with the WikiLeaks and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and who cares how or why they, or how or where they put her out to pasture, right? Okay, you can say it's a promotion, and then people can get back and whatever rear, but it was still a slap in the face symbolically, regardless of whether she has power or not anymore. Because here's the woman that is the main arbiter of the divisiveness that has happened between the DNC and the Democratic progressives that have been backing Bernie, and to give her a position, whatever, regardless of what she does in that position or doesn't do, is still a slap in the face, because it's still symbolically, she's now working with the campaign that we feel rigged against.
Do you feel that because of this huge division between Bernie Sanders supporters and Hillary Clinton supporters, that there might be a rise of a third-party candidate, be it Dr. Jill Stein or Gary Johnson?
Well, my actually intention is to, at least in the next few months, is to push for Jill Stein. I'm not going to say I'm voting for her. I'm not even thinking that she has a snowball's chance in hell of winning. But she does have a chance right now of getting on the debate stage. We're looking at polls that are showing that Hillary is losing now significantly. She did not get the convention bump that she was supposed to. Trump's momentum is still moving strong. If Jill Stein gets on the stage, that also means Gary Johnson is on the stage. Now, I agree with some of Gary Johnson's, but mostly no. So I don't want to see a Gary Johnson presidency. But if we've got those four voices on the stage, rather than the two people that everybody in the world hates, and it's just going to be, it's not going to. I don't think the debates are going to be worth anything if it's just Hillary and Donald Trump. I think if we can get four voices on, especially one that is actually further to the left of Bernie as Jill Stein is, that helps us hold Hillary's feet and make sure that we at least meet the promises that we set forth in the platform, and that we also defeat things that like TPP, and that we make sure that things like ban fracking were not in there, but we need to make sure that we do that. We're destroying the environment at a quicker pace. So we have a sick world, and we're killing it. At least we're killing our ability to live on it, and I think that should be our top priority.
Do you think the Democratic establishment and the Clinton campaign made a dangerous gamble in assuming that people will fall in line?
Oh, incredibly so. Here's the thing, is that they're so disillusioned. They think that because Bernie just picked up that big D, right? Not the little d that's actual social democracy on the ground, and in the streets, the grassroots, but that big establishment D, just because he took that to run on their infrastructure, because that's the only reason he did it, right? He would have otherwise been an obscure third-party candidate if he had tried it going on his independent status. But he didn't do that. But he didn't do that because he knew that he needed the political power of the Democratic Party to get anywhere near a platform, which he was able to create. So the idea of a third-party movement now, I think, is much more possible and valid because, well, one, if for no other reason, look at how crazy this primary season has been. It has stumped the media in ways that, the way they control the narrative, they have not understood what has happened or how this has happened and why this has happened. So I'm just thinking, even to the craziness, that I think we can expect anything right now. Jill Stein got an incredible bump in the polls. The polls. When Bernie released his supporters after he endorsed Hillary on that Tuesday a couple weeks ago, she got $80,000 in just a few days. She got so many likes on her page and friend requests that they actually had to stop her because they got too many, and that kind of momentum, I think, is important. So now we've got two third-party candidates coming straight out of the gate with a significant percent of people backing them. You generally don't get a third-party candidate coming out with better than 3%, if that. We've got a third-party candidate coming out with 5 and 6, and even maybe as high as 14. And we've already got Gary Johnson well over 10%. We can get them on the stage, and then we actually have, if we have a 4-person race, then we have real democracy.
Last question. I've asked this question to many people, from your fellow delegates to regular people on the street to also YouTube celebrities as well. We all know what's wrong with the Donald Trump administration right off the bat. We do know what's wrong with one. But what concerns you about a potential Clinton administration? What concerns you about what a Clinton presidency could do to this country for the next 4 years?
Well, she's a neoliberal war hawk, right? So we'll have more wars and more geopolitical strife. We'll not solve things in the Middle East because we will continue to go down the war path as opposed to the diplomatic path. That's for one. Which will be exacerbated by the fact that we will still go after a neoliberal economy that is banked on privatizing all functions of the government, creating situations where corporations have more sovereign power than states. The TPP is frightening. If a multinational corporation decides to go in and build up whatever their operation is, and for whatever reason, whether it's social, economic, or environmental, there's a regulation that infringes what they believe to be into their profits, they can sue that country. I mean, they can sue our country. Actually, through NAFTA, Canada is, from the XL pipeline, is suing us right now, in the process of trying to sue us now. That means taxpayer dollars have to be paid to corporations because they don't like the way we're trying to tell them that we're it's dangerous, and we'll get more of that. And while it's great that we're getting we're getting somewhere because at least they're admitting some things, but getting paper to action is a very difficult thing.
Right. Well, thank you very much for your time. This is Kit Cabell from Veracity In Defiance signing out. We're going to be covering more of this convention and talking to more to Berine Sanders delegates. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.